So, yep, give the respect over. So, and Bessa going to be the last ban. Leaves the B1 up here for LGD. And they're going to immediately slam in Udyr that was banned away in the first game.
One of Sasa's most played champion. This is actually his most played champion in 2024, and in his career, his second most played champion. What does TES have for Udyr? Udyr's a champion that can't really be moved out of lane all that often. He's also really good in a split push or a lane swap scenario. So I wonder what TES are going to be looking to try to answer with this. No, I mean, Varus, yeah, Varus is still up on the table. Was a champion that we had kind of been hinting at throughout the series, but finally they're able to grab that for JackeyLove.
The Varus. Always a good pick when you already see an Udyr, right? Especially with where I feel On Hit is a much more potent version of Varus at this current iteration. Get a lot of value going into Udyr off the rip. But yeah, I want to see 369 lean into that confidence we've been talking about. Let's get this guy on a big-time carry. Lock the Aatrox in. I love it. Let's see how much of a lead this guy can get again. And this time, it's not just to be a team fight setup. Alk gets to annihilate the team fights with that World Ender.
Yep, 10-3 in last year, 36-12 in total for his career on this Aatrox. So we'll see what LGD have cooking on the back end. Again, with some of the unique junglers, especially that Olaf in Game 1, we were waiting to see where Wukong priority was going to be, and it seems like LGD are going to be going towards that. Now, we see the hover of the Ahri. I wonder if there's also maybe an 80 carry that they're looking for, because honestly, the pool's starting to get pinched. No Xayah, no Ashe, Varus being taken away. There's no Ezreal or Kalista. So, especially with that Corki ban, I think the pool starts to get a little bit smaller here, and you might have to be dipping down into some unfavorable matchups.
Wow. The Doinby effect on LPL is shining through now. I mean, we got an XQW rise. We got Knight to break this thing out in an absolute stomp game win for BLG. So another rise comes on down. What do Top Esports want to do here? They hovered the Kanavi Nidalee last game before locking the Vi. And once again, to further push this point, Alk, when you're playing with confidence, I like champions like a Nidalee to be locked in, especially after an MVP game from Kanavi.
For Kanavi now, we're going to need to see him be aggressive in the enemy jungle, especially versus this Wukong. You do not want to get into a team fight setup where your team is playing with an Aatrox with a Varus, and suddenly there's an Udyr and a Rise running straight to the back line with a Wukong in invisibility. So LGD, they have a lot of setup. I think they're pretty low range for the most part, but they have some pretty decent damage, and they're going to have really high HP totals, especially this Rise and Udyr. So here for TES, they need to be getting rid of 80 carries. They're going to be dealing well or be able to kind of line up with really beefy front lines. I like the idea of a Kai'Sa being taken away. And with Varus here, there's not very strong AD lanes that are going to be able to deal with the range of this champion. So what are we going to be pairing this up with? Also, are we going to be getting maybe Creme's pick of choice or going for a support counter pick for Crisp?
Looks like the Hui will be the pick of choice. In some spots, I think this could be a support flex if you want to play the distance poke Varus for a pretty dominating 2v2 lane, but I think this is going to go mid lane. Do we get the Shaoye Draven?
Wow.
That'd be fun.
I think this is such a twofold. This would be such a twofold call. Not only is it Draven into JackeyLove of all things, but it's also Shaoye, who is recently or in the past one of his most played champions. We want to go for an all-in look. You need to be able to have one lane here that explodes the map. Varus, especially in terms of range, is going to be out-damaging you, but you need to be like a 2v2 here that's going to be able to smash the bottom lane if we want to see LGD walk into team fights. And finally, we get an engaged champion. It's going to be the Nautilus coming in for LGD.
Though, the bounce back here for Crisp. I think Rel is a real annoying issue for a Nautilus to deal with. Volatile lane finally for LGD. Engaged champion comes for YCX. Maybe this is the game they find their tempo back in, but I'm just still very worried about this top side. I think you've already made 369 a sleeping giant in his matchup.
Sasa is going to have to be playing a bit careful. I don't expect him to be getting very many resources. There's a Draven in the game, so we do expect for them to be kind of a big focus, especially early on. And I want to see LGD make big waves and then stack them to go for dives, especially after XQW has access to his ultimate. You can teleport in, make sure that the Rise is going to be a potent side laner. And for TES, they have such a strong way of being able to kind of muscle their way into fights. My issue, I think, with this TES composition is if they're not ahead, if they're not in a strong enough position, I think that the HP bars of LGD are going to be too much to deal with. And really, you're kind of relying on Chris by himself engaging. You are trying to maximize the range, the poke composition with Averis, Hui, and Nidalee.
Will this be the final game of Split 1's group stage in the LPL? Or do LGD have something cooking in the furnaces as the fire begins to dwindle? It's time to find out as we head on to Summoner's Rift here, where I suspect Alk could potentially see another lane swap, especially with the Draven in play like you're talking about. The Udyr could be a solid strategy for LGD in this one, I feel.
Yeah, especially against the Aatrox. I mean, you just take Ignite as the Nautilus. You can go up, walk to him level 1 and walk this guy down, maybe force a summoner spell. Have to assume that TES on the opposite side should be expecting, or at least know that this is a possibility of happening. You already see the early deploys. All of TES towards this top side with Creme by himself. No one from LGD showing quite yet. Going for a 5-point here. And you can already see that TS's bot lanes are getting ready to potentially make that swap happen.
See the Comet for JackeyLove. So we are going to get that lethality poke Varus. Potent in lane. Spikes
they get spotted.
quicker. They do get spotted. Spikes quicker going into, you know, the mid game, your first item power point, but I do worry about that build path into this LGD team if this game stays close and goes into the later stages.
I think it's the only way, really, that JackeyLove's able to deal damage, because I'll be honest, I don't know about you, I really don't want to play on-hit Varus into a Nautilus, into Ryze, and Udyr. This entire LGD team makes me pretty miserable to play. I agree, and you know I can kind of see it would definitely up their consistent damage, but the point of this TES composition is make sure that LGD never walk into a fight with more or similar HP bars to us. We need to make sure that at least one member from LGD are down 10, 20, 30% of their HP bar before they walk into a fight. So we're going to be seeing that maybe with some focus from bottom lane. Kanavi is starting on the top side of the map, and Climber can very easily, after getting red buff, make a surprise appearance on this bottom lane.
Same could be said for the flip on the top side. If you want for Kanavi, rush down your camps, maybe skip to put L369 in a better spot. We'll have to see with both junglers starting on the opposite sides. First game we get with no lane swaps and no, you know, down under bottom lanes to the top lanes, but it's YCX that's going to throw the initial dredge line out into Crisp.
Oh my god.
With the power of Draven. That's lane prio with the snap of a finger.
Great job from them. Climber is looking like he's pathing away. He'll be getting the red buff for himself. And yeah, now level 2 already has double axis spinning here for Shaoye. Need to see what TS are going to be able to do. I mean, even if Kanavi comes down here, I don't know if they'll have enough damage. Yes, it is a Nidalee, and you have the, you know, the amount of damage that Averis can have access to, but level 2, don't know if it's going to happen. Climber already getting into the face, though. And we get the move from mid. XQW's moving on over. They're getting the push as well from bottom lane. If they can stop Kanavi from getting blue buff, you're feeling great about this.
Big smite here that could come across. Kanavi doesn't get close enough. YCX keeps him at bay, so Climber steals away the blue buff. Starting to get some good poke down with this Hui and Nidalee, but just too little too late. Climber's going to get away with his buff steal. And like
wait a minute.
Buff. Navi's definitely looking. Root going to come across XQW. Dredge slide.
Wow!
Chris to protect him. The wall interrupting any further engage.
That was really well timed, I think, from YCX, because typically when you're playing a hook champion or any engage into Hui, you get feared in the middle of, you know, your engage, so you have to immediately walk back, but the fear comes out, and while it's hitting him, he's able to get the pull through from Nautilus, so just barely not able to make that play.
Ooh,
and Climber from invisibility.
Yeah, Creme gets a good fear, though, and it creates just enough space with XQW out of mana, not enough to find that kill, but flash off the Hui at the end of the day.
Climber, help your mid laner, man. Your mid laner helped you make the push. Now you have to be able to help him get his wave back in. Nidalee's going to help Creme for the time being catch this wave. And that'll also mean a early scuttle here for Climber, splitting the map on the top side. Kanavi getting spotted on this ward is so good, because maybe that would have opened up a play. Shaoye on YCX.
How did that dredge line land? YCX
Let's
will
go!
take it. One more axe. The passive from Draven. Adoration cashed in for first blood. Shaoye gets all the gold in the world. Kanavi does show up here. We'll be able to trade Shaoye as he's just too far up without any summoners. So a couple chucks of the spear will find the kill back, but still, knowing Draven's passive, big stonks for the LGD bottom lane.
Yeah, I think Draven honestly was a big loser of the new season, because there's no First Blood gold anymore. First Blood is just a normal kill now. All of that gold is kind of packed into getting the feats of warfare. So yeah, it was some Draven stacks, but we'll take a look in this replay here. A lot of summoner spells were used during this. The fact that this lands, by the way, minions be damned. I mean, look, he uses all the flashes. They try to get this kill, but I mean, JackeyLove just doesn't have enough damage. They're in the middle of a minion wave, and it's great for Kanavi to be able to pick up this kill, but you see on the top side, Climber just gets a little bit more time, finishes his camps, can take a reset as well, can look towards the top side of the map. Hasn't quite hit the back button, so he's got a lot of gold in his back pocket, and might even be late for what is a grub start in 40 seconds.
Still got a pretty nifty camp lead.
Oh, we're going for the dive? No ult on XQW. Okay, force it. You got to do it now.
Yeah, they like it without the JackeyLove summoners. Climber waiting for XQW to
way.
come up. Dredgeline not going to land. They're going to get the hook on the JackeyLove. Teleport's coming in to try and save them. Jackie's going to go down. YCX be traded. And in comes the reinforcements. Kanavi's going to cut off Climber to find one kill. Shaoye in the 1v1 with a world-ended buff 369. And the dive maybe got JackeyLove, but his squad's got him to back it up to the tune of a 3-1 trade.
You lose a plate in mid. You just barely were able to get a kill there. Looks tough. And honestly, for TES, they get the first 3 kills, so they'll get that feat of warfare there. I don't know about that one, Slayer. This looks like a pretty suspicious game coming in from LGD. Dive was not prescripted for them.
Just so pumped to see the discipline from top esports right now. Their own confidence we've been preaching since game 2 to get those teleports going. Kanavi in the right spot to answer these plays from LGD. Because last game it was LGD just kind of scared. Now it feels like top esports have found their number and are just answering everything they're trying to do.
Hey, at least we're seeing some plays from LGD. That was another kill, and that'll be a lot of gold that's taken out from JackeyLove's pockets. But, I mean, while the gold is even between our 280 carries, it's a grub taken here for Kanavi. And Shaoye is actually down half a level versus his counterpart. So they need to dive on a 369.
Yep, doesn't have a one under for the big heal, so he'll fall. Dive trying to go on the other side for top esports.
This could be good, though.
Hits the wall, so he gets thrown into all of top esports. Shaoye can't really get committed to some of these swirling axes. It'll be a trade of kills on each side of the map and some camps.
Man, this Draven's starting to feel worse and worse. One of the problems with playing Draven into a poke lane, someone especially that outranges you, like this poke Varus, means that you can kind of take all the HP before you're actually able to interact with him. Shaoye just takes his recall. He's going to get a pickaxe, but if you take a look at this replay, I mean, YCX just walks in blind. And the Nidalee setup as well. I mean, Shaoye just does not do enough damage at this moment. So, sucks to say, but LGD, they make plays on the opposite side of the map, but they lose out even more because now this Nidalee is starting to really turbocharge.
And that's what you needed from Kanavi's Nidalee. Whenever you pick this champion, early game needs to find success to get these spears really buffed up in the damage department. Kanavi just picking up right where he left off from that Vi game, it seems. 369 settling into his matchup as well. Top esports are on schedule to meet those win cons from their comp that they drafted, looking for their first sweep of the LPL split.
I mean, Dragon's up if they really want it, but all of these top side camps here for Kanavi should mean that TES are looking to at least protect the Varus and Rel on the Crash. No plays on the top side to be really made, and for a game that we expected to see a little bit more action from Climber, especially on the bottom lane wave, it seems like the coordination just hasn't been there for LGD the past couple games, to be honest. So need to be able to tighten up the ship if they want any chance of being able to play, because not only is this our last game of the groups, this is the last spot for playoffs. So For TES, an expected favorite here in this one, but they really need to be able to clean up their act and kind of close out this game to make it into playoffs.
Luckily, their cleanest phase of the game is soon to come. Mid-game not too far away. It's when they've really just been so much better on the map. They have been in this early phase. They got the first 3 grubs for free. Nobody's really on that dragon yet as well. Kanavi not too far off that first item. They'll really start to juice up this Nidalee.
Maybe they try to make a play onto these blue buffs. There's not too much vision here, and again, they're just kind of doing sparring blows, saying, kind of testing where your opponents are, saying, hey, can you take this jab? Can I go for this steal? With Chris especially, him and Kanavi have been roaming around trying to make sure that they get any vision down, and Climber's got to be careful, probably just giving up this objective. JackeyLove also has ultimate here, so got to be very careful. LGD are just losing push everywhere, and it just means that Kanavi can cannibalize the jungle so much more quickly than Wukong.
Getting his revenge for that blue buff he lost earlier, and he could tell.
Thanks, man. I'll trade 1 buff camp for all of your jungle camps. Worthwhile trade if I'm TES.
Hey, you started it. You started it, Climber. Kanavi's looking to finish it, so definitely.
Mom
got
said
that
it's my
camp
turn to
going.
take all your camps.
Yeah, Mom said it's mine, but I only took your. Nope, all your camps.
Nope,
they're all mine.
Nope, I'm big bro. Kanavi's big bro right now.
Yeah.
So, Mom said it's my turn. I get to have all your jungle camps belong to me, and we haven't seen for LGD. They have a lot of time to still be able to play this game. I know we were kind of harping on the bottom lane matchup, but you can kind of change modes of what you're doing with this Draven. Draven typically has a lot of early damage, and so with his passive, you should be able to find early kills and kind of snowball that lead. But as long as Draven is keeping up stacks in the mid game, a single kill, kind of immediately slingshots him above the enemy AD carry in ways that they're not really going to be able to catch up, at least naturally. So maybe in this grub fight, we'll be able to see from LGD. They get 1 grub. Okay, so that's not the feats of warfare, or the feats of strength for epic monsters at least.
Oh, Dredge
what the?
Land on the 369. Don't know how that hook landed, but he doesn't get the World Ender off, so the Dredge line results in a kill. Sasi going to be traded back out. Here's the big Cyclone coming through, though, for Climber. Can
Shaoye!
No, it's Shaoye on the 1v1. Does get those adoration stacks over the wall. They find the kill onto Kanavi as well. Realm Warp doesn't find its mark there. XUW doesn't want to push the tempo too much. But the YCX engage, desperately needed from Game 2, gets them their first fight win in a game and a half.
I was going to say, yeah, that was the first time we actually saw LGD make a proactive, full 5-man team fight happen in a game and a half. All of Game 2, it felt like they were just too spread out across the map, and now, finally, look, big shutdown there for Shaoye. 135 stacks, plus a shutdown that was available onto Kanavi. I don't know how this hooks land. Again, I feel bad for 369 on this one. His AD carry, rightfully so, didn't want to get hooked, but he gets taken down. That's the 1 shutdown here for Shaoye, and the rest of the team from LGD finally make good. They destabilize the fight. They split up the members of TES, and again, this is a team that's going to have a really big wake-up, not only with the amount of damage that someone like Draven is going to have, but Ryze is eventually going to scale into oblivion in this game. We talked about during the draft the LGD health bars were going to be a big point of hurt for TES as this game went on, and that's going to continue to be the case. They're not behind the curve in any meaningful way.
Maybe only in grub count.
True.
Kanavi gets back towards the pit and does get themselves Void Might, so 5-1 split.
But all the turrets are full HP, man. Yeah. Look at them. Yeah. Like, you're never getting push versus Ryze and Udyr versus Aatrox. Like, it's just not happening.
Definitely an investment right to the later phase. Once you get 369 ahead on items with this Aatrox, he can be a menace in a side lane. The Mights always help. You know, how many times have we seen a game defined where a team wins a fight late and the Mights get them the win? I mean, that's what got Top Esports the win in Game 1. They don't take the Nexus as early as they do without those Mights.
Yeah, I mean, look, Void Mights is a win more objective, right? If you're never able to hit turrets, then you just never get use of them. But we'll see what TS are able to do with this objective, as We got a couple of things still up on the table here. We've got the Herald in 2.5 minutes that LGD could be looking towards. I think TES are going to be putting additional focus on this, like we were saying, because of them having the mites. But we've got Dragon here. It looks like LGD are going to be able to take this as Kanavi and them are just deploying back out onto the bat. First Dragon in 14 minutes. Okay, guys.
Woo!
All right. Nice.
First monster slaying feat for LGD is first Drake at 14 minutes. Definitely going to make any soul secure conversations feel a little less inevitable in this one. But hey, there's Climber to grab the Dragon. We see a lot of pretty big breakpoint items coming through here. We talked about how, you know, a poke Varus gets a lot of benefit out of those cheap lethality items. But, I mean, look at Shaoye. He's got a BF sword and a Bloodthirster down. This guy, if he's able to cook, these axes are going to hurt.
Draven getting access to the first item is great, especially that Bloodthirster like you were mentioning. I will say, as long as TS can play on these 2 item cores, and especially for someone like JackeyLove, maybe there's an angle for them. I think there's a really big power spike coming in here for Kanavi. He's almost a full level over his opponent, and as the Nidalee, level's obviously very, very good, and has the Leandries, you just need to see them actually set up for fights, and I think that's mostly going to be coming around them actually playing team fights around objectives. So it's going to be on LGD to be able to find some fights before them to destabilize the map and get some summoner spell advantages.
Might have a fight.
There we go.
Top side roots from XQW sets up the dredge line onto Chris. Gonna have his health bar burn through the spiraling despair. Gets a lot of work onto YCX. But XQW is just zoning Creme off all on his own. Kanavi goes in for the killing blow, but that might just be a one-way ticket.
Whoa!
Goes up for 2 kills. Kanavi's Nidalee cooking here when nobody expected.
2 kills, and more importantly here, XQW on this rise is starting to become a nuisance. Creme got completely zoned out of that fight and had to do what he could with the artillery range of this Hwei, but we're already starting to see Kanavi has to overextend himself, and honestly, I'll take that. There's no Ignite now here for Crisp. There's no Ultimate for Creme as well. There are some really key spells that are going to be now available or taken away by LGD, and we had just talked about it. They need to find advantages before objectives start so that they can find this play, and Chris now down. I mean, it's for me anyway, no Nautilus Salt before a Grub or before the Herald is going to be pretty impactful, but Kanavi moving in for 2 kills, I don't know if it's worth it. It's gold in your back pocket, yes, but you're now going to be late to the objective. You lose mid push first. I don't know.
369 dropping everything in his combo to keep
Sasa
Sasa up first. Turret secured. Yeah,
I'm
welcome to
playing
Udyr. I just ignore your damage. He's just dancing around him. He's like, yo, nice try, little bro.
Thank you for the 4 grass procs there. Wow, XQW just used a Realm Warp there to try to get them in position behind Creme. But it does mean that mid is by himself, and Shaoye has to walk into Fog of War. Very dangerous. We've seen this series already decided by Shaoye getting caught beforehand. And now the Rift Herald being started by this AD carry. Draven's got to be so careful. He has both of his summoner spells up and a lot of Draven stacks.
Oh, there's the poke. YCX down way below 50% HP. Sasa teleporting in just to give enough range for LGD to secure the Herald. But these piercing arrows are starting to hurt here. The spears as well. They'll get the objective. But that big fight key difference you talked about, Alk, is top esports making the health bars a lot healthier before any fight can break out on their end with their range. And
we're getting to see some of, the side laning that we had talked about later or earlier in the series. Whenever they're cross-mapping, 369 and TES have been doing a really good job of making sure that they're getting other things across the map. And so...
Oh, they got feats off that. I just realized.
Yeah, they got the bottom lane tier 1. They also got the mid tier 1 at the same time. And this TP coming in from 369 will stop LGD from being able to respond. Really great job from TES. They may have lost the Herald fight, but they got a lot more on the back end of that. And they kind of stopped a fight from occurring, which definitely would have been in favor of LGD if they were able to find one.
Already getting value out of the grubs. Up 2 turrets to none. The one biggest stat differential in this matchup has definitely been the turrets taken. And a lot of that is due to 369. But we have a big buff coming that should open or really, I would say, widen the gap in a much closer game 3 here. Another Voracious Otacon. This one, I feel, is the most integral of the 3 we've seen so far.
Yeah, especially with how close this game is starting to feel. It's only about 800 gold here for TES, and I want to check in on some of those items we were talking about. Shaoye is almost done with getting an Infinity Edge here, which is going to be very, very good. And then you look at XQW, 4 more minutes until fully stacked Rod of Ages. Very close to finishing has a Seraph's completed as well, so can actually fight right now if he really wanted to, even with the dragon spawning around this Otacon. If they don't want to, look, in 4 minutes, you're still going to be even stronger here for LGD. So, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see them drop this dragon, really focus on getting gold and finishing some of those items, but maybe they just feel like, we can't give this objective up. We have to be able to play on the map. You have Herald as well. Just play for mid-tier 1, honestly.
At the very least, yeah, just trade this out. Dragon's already down, though, so Top Esports can swing their way back through. This is what we've talked about all series long. TES are much better on the map. Question is, will they be able to cover their mid-turret? It's going to be Climber to hop in the Herald, and he's got other ideas. I don't know about this one. What do we... Yo, Climber! Man.
All right.
Avert your eyes.
I have no defense. I have no defense for my client. My client is... Wait. Maybe...
No, it doesn't crash, dude.
He doesn't get the crash. So, I could understand not wanting to get the crash there because as soon as you come out, you already know how long basically the distance is going to be for the engage, and then Rel can just engage wherever the Wukong's going to land after jumping out of the Herald. But now we just wasted this objective. Climber, uncharacteristic mistakes from a guy who I think really kept his head calm, cool, and collected when he was playing up against someone like Tarzan, but this time around just feels like maybe a little scatterbrained, is a little all over the place, and now we're fighting for entrance into the mid-brush. I don't know if this is real.
I was seeing Climber might have a redemption story, the flank he was trying to set up, but YCX backs Top Esports into a much safer position on his own there. Everything settles back in. Everyone jumping back on, getting side lane pressure if you're in the name of Sasa. Do want to talk back to items really quickly. Love this adaptation from JackeyLove. This is such a high-value Serpent's Fang game.
Yep. And we'll see how much he's able to do, but again, we talked about it. He still needs to be able to buy a Muramana here, so once he's done building all of the components and finishing this item, maybe there's some chance here for TES. But I'm looking at Shaoye, I'm looking at XQW. Those item trays are getting fuller and fuller, and they're getting more complete. Infinity Edge done now. Almost 300 stacks for this Draven. If he cashes in, he's going to explode his gold lead to about 1,000, if not more. So TS got to be very worried and at least thinking about, hey, how are we shutting down Draven? How are we stopping Draven from getting kills? And the items, I will say, for TS are not bad here, especially with the Horizon focus already done here for Kanavi. He's going to deal a lot of damage, but he has to make sure the spears are able to connect. And I like how TS are playing around objectives. They're getting there first, setting down vision, and a lot of traps here.
Speaking of traps, they're setting one on to Chris, who already had to use the Fairman, so he gets dismounted. XQW tried to turn out all the damage he can.
Whoa, 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 whoa! There it is!
Because he gets the whirling death for Shaoye, and the Adoration cash-in is alive and well.
Oh, wait a minute, here comes the re-engage!
They found Kanavi! What a hook from YCX! This guy's doing it all on his pad to Nautilus. Down goes the jungler. 369 trying to cut off Sasa's retreat, but Udyr, this guy just ignores damage. He doesn't care about his health bar. It never depletes. And LGD get out with 2 clutch kills on the team fight.
And if they want out, they could just use the Realm Warp. But now it is 2 members down here for TES and an Otacon started. I think this might be dangerous. It's on to how Sasa can keep them out from this bush. But you've already lost geography here. Can they get this objective?
There's no World Ender. JackeyLove. Chains of Corruption. They're just going to have to give this. This is
dangerous.
Nice to see from LGD. This is the team fighting that we missed in Game 2.
And this is the XQW from Game 1, man. I know we keep we're doing different kind of callbacks here, but this is the mage player that we were missing in Game number 2. And Crisp, he gets caught out. Look at where the rest of his team is. Crisp is our Creme is recalling. We're trying to take control of mid with Kanavi and JackeyLove, but XQW, he makes the play happen. He flashes over. We get this execution from Shaoye. One of the changes to Draven ult was you get the execute if it's below Draven stacks, and we're back to live. Crisp is caught again.
Yeah, we're back to YCX's Nautilus. Chris trying to kite back, does get a big stun. Decent damage from JackeyLove, but there's revives on LGD. Why would they ever stop pushing the tempo as they find themselves another pick?
They lose access of mid, but I mean, look, honestly, if TES wanted to look for something, there's a lot of damage coming out from Kanavi and from JackeyLove. Crisp getting caught out there slows down the game, and that's not what you want to do as this TES composition. You want to keep the snowball rolling, make sure that your Nidalee and your Varus are able to deal damage. I mean, look, Creme is always going to be able to deal a lot of damage, especially with Shaoye, but this is getting very risky, and don't tell me this is the game that LGD win. It was that game one that we were looking at them, saying you're in such a dominant lead. We need to see them close this out if we want to have any confidence in LGD having a chance in the series.
And this is the most wary point of the game for LGD up against Top Esports. But I will say the one stark difference in that department, the map play, is that the Sasa Udyr has really limited any of 369's time. He's always had to answer these waves constantly. He hasn't got to get into those classic Aatrox fight stances that you like. And it's really just helping LGD push the tempo, but more, it might just be a catch on to XQW of all people. He does get the revive, drops through. Creme hunting for a kill onto Chris. He's got his own revive as well for the next 25 seconds. So there won't be any shutdowns cashed in for Top Esports. Just a classic 400 gold with 369 slamming down on that Q3.
But do they maybe even look for the Dragon here? I think Baron might be a little bit off the table here, especially with how long some of these resets can be. But they can't even get anything. They're just going to go back to doing jungle camp. So what did they trade for that? It was the Ignite from Crisp. Not many summoner spells. It seems like LGD just really wanted to kind of leverage those revives before they were gone to get themselves the mid-tier 1.
Nearly have themselves a bottom lane tier 2 there. Sasa had a bit more damage. Still playing the map pretty well, are LGD. But all eyes, they're turning towards this Baron. Despite the last couple of big fight wins here from LGD, Baron could really flip everything on its head. And the gold isn't that big of a gap where there's huge item differentials, especially now that we do have JackeyLove with that more mana fully completed. This Varus is online, probably as strong as he's going to get.
I want to see what they're able to do. I mean, Kanavi upgraded the boots as well, so he should be doing a hell of a lot of damage. Climber and Sasa are going to start this objective up. I mean, no one's here. They're not even starting up Baron. You know that you lose access of mid. Sasa just shows, so good job from LGD. Keeping the game pace, making sure that they're able to stay relevant, taking objectives where they can. And TS, unable to advance the game state right now.
Good free Dragon. It just sucks that the first one we got of the game was at 14 minutes, so that was just the third Drake of the game taken. Doesn't really stall out on those soul stacks. Have been not much a big point of conversation because of how little these two junglers prioritized that part of the pit, that pit on the Rift, as the other one continues to see a ton of pressure, but the Rise's side lane threat is really rearing its ugly head for Top Esports. I mean, he's got the Seraphs, the Roadhog, and XQW with ult up and flash. That's a bug. He's got his flash up. He's just really in his comfort zone looking for these turrets.
He's got level 16 now as well, so maybe here with Crisp if they can make this play. Okay, a lot of damage onto him. Oh my god, the phase rush, dude.
Chains of Corruption went wide because of that phase rush. Crushing Maw doesn't land. Has to be a flash from Crisp, and they do end up getting XQW. Holds on to that flash, doesn't commit it, doesn't try and get a Realm Warp. So that's a big pick for Top Esports near the Baron Pit.
Yeah, but what else can they actually get for this? All this has done is just stop LGD from running over them on the map. Maybe even taking a top tier 2. Other than that, look at what they invested for. Rel ult, Creme's ult, the Varus ult. Not much available here for TS. It feels like they are stuck in a holding pattern because of the fact that Chris got caught out a couple of times in the mid game. Now we're here at a point, 28 minutes. They'll try to grab this top tier 1 with the 5 grubs that they have. But, I mean, all it is just gold in their back pocket. Okay.
Great flash from Creme. Doesn't even get knocked up. Teleport coming through for 669. Kanavi trying to push the tempo. Shaoye, though, in a safe spot. The teleport won't really find much else, so it's a trade of flashes and a tier 1 turret really found, but just marginal pressure alleviation for Top Esports.
I think I'll take that if I'm Wukong, man. I'm taking flash away from Creme, and there's no teleport from 369. I've opened up our ability to actually side lane. I think that's a perfectly fine trade, especially with how 369 has played this series, and with how easy it is for LGD to actually execute onto the backline of TES. Top Esports now find themselves around the Baron, and with a Varus, regardless of what build you have, because of the access to max HP Shred, they can do this Baron pretty quickly, but I think they really are waiting for push on mid. Maybe they can pull Rise away from this objective, and they need to find a pick, most importantly. If they can find someone like Shaoye or even Climber on a side lane, that'll really open up the scene. Maybe YCX is the play.
But they're walking into a flank here. XQW's going to flash over the wall to root Creme in place, as JackeyLove is just getting bopped by Shaoye. Down goes Creme, and now Chris is on the wrong side of the fight, and it's 2 huge picks for LGD with Barrett in their sights.
There we go. That's the play that we just saw around the top side. Get Creme's flash and then make the play on him once we get back onto the map. It's the Baron started here. Shaoye, though, half HP, trying to heal with the Bloodthirster. And a couple summoner spells do make this very difficult. TES are throwing bombs down from long range, trying to get onto LGD, but none of them are quite landing right now, and this Baron is taking forever for them to take.
Still, though, the health bar's going down.
Okay.
Ooh, Shaoye ate a huge spear at max range. Back down way below half HP. XQW called the side by 369, but in goes Sasa with Climber to get the knockups. They've got JackeyLove pinned with a great dredge line from YCX. And TES is now on the back foot, but Kanavi wants to go back in. Too bad Sasa just doesn't take damage. He eats the candy at the shop. Kanavi into the stasis. 369 doesn't have access to that wound ender.
Wait, Creme's here. Where's Shaoye?
Looking for the turn. 369 is looking for the big sweet spots on the Qs. Can he find another one on the Climber? Yes, he roots him up into a spear from Kanavi. The severing bolt from downtown sends Shaoye and XQW to the wayside. Somehow, Top Esports, after dropping 2 straight picks, don't drop the Baron, and they're going to clean all house on the side. Down goes Sasa. 3 kills back to Top Esports. It's another disaster for LGD in the late game.
No, they overstay and overplay their hand. It's also Hextech map, so you get right back out into the map as soon as possible. 18 seconds before Climber is up. YCX is only just now respawning, but it's up to the 80 carry in mid lane of LGD to make good.
Oh, yeah? He cleanses the fear, eats a spiraling.
He's gliding!
In goes Kanavi, great flashback. Shaoye gets the huge spears. What a double kill. He still has more space to run, but here comes 369 with the World Ender.
Oh, they did it!
Sidestep on the piercing arrow. Shaoye's Draven is to be feared for this very reason, folks.
It's pure drama here in Game 3. Potential match point here for TES as we get a very hectic play around this Baron. TES not able to take the Baron. LGD not able to take the Baron. And we finally get some reprieve. People are buying items. We've got Dragon being started here by LGD. But man, oh man, this game is close. LGD want at least a chance at playoffs, and TES, they don't want any kind of ways around it. They need to lock in this 3-0.
They need to shut down Shaoye, who's just in his flow state. I mean, off that fight alone, he grabs a rapid-fire cannon. As we get the replay,
Yeah.
This one's going to be a long one, folks.
Yeah, I hope when we come back out, we have at least an objective taken. And the start of this is so good for LGD. I mean, XQW is kind of just sitting here. I think that the start of this fight was a bit dangerous. It started with them finding Chris, but he had to flash out, and now look at where the damage dealers are. Shaoye is doing blue buff! XQW has 1,000 HP! They were thinking maybe we could do this, but it takes way too long for the damage dealers to get here, and Creme's able to come back out into this fight. They're so low, and this was the part where it looked like, hey, LGD are able to kind of lose this one. Yeah, oh, we're getting multi-parts of this, and Shaoye,
Let's go.
He gets the cleanse. He also has the flash available to him. He won't have that for this next fight, so maybe that's a way for TES to find access onto the back line.
Oh,
whoa,
Climber takes the
Climber!
realm warp into the back line. He wants Creme. He's going to get him, but where's the rest of the damage? Creme gets a Smiling Despair out, but it's too late. Crisp and Creme are cookies and cream now to the ice cream maker of LGD. The same exact 2 picks they got the last time round.
Oh, no. Can TES defend around this Baron? Kanavi still alive. JackeyLove still dealing damage, and Climber has to reset. But again, Hextech map means you can get back out on the map incredibly fast. A single spear landing onto XQW will shove LGD out from the river. And we get back into a tense game. It's 2,000 gold. It's those same picks like you were mentioning. Crisp and Creme getting caught repeatedly here in this third game is making it more and more difficult for TES to actually do anything. Remember, it was the mid game. We were seeing Chris get caught out. That stopped TES from continuing the snowball. Here again, they're not able to kind of press their advantage.
And the comp Top Esports have designed, right? It's paramount that they can get into a comfortable spot to fire these arrows and these spears and the Hwei damage. But LGD have not let them settle in around this Baron yet with their full 5 members. And that's what's really kept TES out of doing that damage. Like you mentioned, Alk, I love the way you pointed out during draft. Top Esports mission is every time before an objective to make sure their health bars are bigger than their opponents, and you can see it starting to manifest with YCX. He's knocked out of the fight. XQW goes to the stasis to avoid the crash down. 369 pops the World Ender, but he's getting chunked by Shaoye's damage. The Draven's starting to cook, and look at all the work Climber does on the front side. But 369 hops over the wall, gets a reset, gets a heal. The Realm Warp has to take the carries out as Sasa dropped next. This time round, TES survive the barrage and find themselves another 2 picks, and maybe finally somebody will take the Baron.
369 Aatrox stays alive. The World Ender versus everybody on LGD. Saves them the fight, grabs them the Baron. Oh my god, such a drama-filled game here. Damage coming out from Climber and Sasa was great, but XQW had to zone these immediately. He was an irrelevant team fighter, and those were summoner spells now gone from this Rise. I think LGD are jumping the gun quite a little bit, and I think almost poetically, as we're describing it, YCX loses all of his HP. This means his Nautilus is nowhere near the fight. And we get to see this engage coming in from TES. The damage, I mean, look where Shaoye is. He's only hitting onto 369. XQW is out of this fight. YCX is out of this fight. And the spacing coming out from 369. Just beautiful. And I loved how TES were able to turn this fight, play towards their bruisers. And now they've got the Baron on their backs. Dragon spawning in a minute. It'll be Soul if LGD are able to contest this. So I like how TES are setting up early. They're denying vision and making sure that they're pushing out on the 2 ways that are relevant to this so that they can make this play. And they still have 5 grubs, so this bottom tier 2 is not long for the world.
All the same prevailing thoughts we had after the first 2 games. We were waiting for YCX to get on that engage-oriented champion. And he was dominant in that early to mid-game phase you're talking about. He is the key engage tool, and nothing points it out more than that last fight showing what happens when he isn't the one to start the fights. It's just such a different ball game, but they've still got time, and most importantly, despite how late we started the Dragons, Hextech Soul is theirs to play for if they can get control of this river in time, with it spawning in just 15 seconds.
Yeah, the criticism for YCX so far in this series is similar to Crisp. Crisp getting caught out a little bit too much, and YCX takes too much damage earlier on to fights. It's one of the skill sets you have to have as an engage, as a tank player, is when can you take damage? When are you allowed to do so? And now he's half HP. LGD can't enter into this pit unless it's a massive steal from Climber. XQW does have the Realm Warp, and I think TES kind of in a tricky situation. They need to be able to push out this bottom lane wave, but they don't have access. They now will know where this Rise is. Sasa, though, uses his flash, but he forces TES out of the pit.
Yeah, starting to reel back in with some of this poke. Remember, it's all about spears, arrows, and Hwei damage to create space. YCX trying to find a flank, can't get to it, and we might just 50-50 this Dragon, but it's Climber to secure it, gets the Hextech Soul, and now Top Esports are on the back foot. Well, we're back in the backline from XQW, but he's got no friends with him. He's all alone. He's going to pay the piper. Double kill over to JackeyLove as he sent YCX to the great screen on the backside. Soul's going to cost LGD about quadra% what they got out of it.
XQW, I think those lights are just a little too bright as he sends himself to the gray screen. And now TES are going to be able to break open this mid turret.
Holy moly, that
they still have Baron,
ludicrous.
man. Oh,
they
God,
go for it. They've got the grubs. Top Esports, 5 strong. They're looking for the knockout blow. YCX spawns in 5 seconds, but XQW is a whole half a minute out from being able to get here. Climber goes in with the Cyclone trying to get the knockups, but there's not enough damage. Climber goes down. They trade out Chris, and they have
There it is.
Sasa picks up the first kill. JackeyLove tried to step up, but he can't burn through Sasa's health bar. He's surviving so long. Finally, he falls. Shaoye is off to the wrong side of the fight here, trying to heal off the minions, but 369 smells blood in the water, gets the knockup.
Wait a minute. He's doing a Shaoye!
The whirling death nearly finds 3. It's a big stasis. Piercing arrow doesn't land from JackeyLove. and everybody settles down as Shaoye once again saves his team from the ultimate Creme.
Oh my god, he makes the play happen. 1v3 there in the play with this Draven. It is all hands on deck for LGD. They need to be getting around their AD carry, and for Shaoye, who just joined LGD last year, he's the only holdover from the 2023 roster. He needs to deliver in this game. As we check this replay, this part is great. Kanavi just barely gets into a pit. It's a smite steal from Climber, but from here, YCX can't get into this Realm Warp. XQW just sends himself right into the back line, and no one can deal damage. LGD almost lose the game off of getting Hextech Soul, but it is this fight here from LGD's AD carry that saves this entire play and at least gives them a few more moments in this game 3.
Sasa's Udyr, I mean, it's just so hard to deal with. The one worry with this lethality Varus just allows Sasa to be such a menace, but you pointed it out, Shaoye, this Draven, I mean, this could have been the whirling death of all whirling deaths right here. Imagine if this hits Kanavi.
Yeah, if it hit Kanavi, if it had killed JackeyLove there, I don't think it would have been able to do all that much. I think death timers are still pretty long and there's no objectives to play for. We have 50 seconds before this Baron, and I want to do a summoner spell check. No summoner spells on Shaoye, so any CC that lands on him is just going to have to be taken straight up to the face. And here for TES, no flash on Creme, no flash on JackeyLove, and no flash on 369. This Wukong ultimate can be so dangerous. XQW, we've seen a couple of questionable Realm Warps, but he's able to get his front line right in there. I think he can disrupt what TS are doing. This game is so close. Hextech Soul, though, I think has to be such a big difference maker, especially with how easy it is. And once you get onto that backline, you can basically never move.
But the setup is here for Top Esports with those super minions. They're going to surrender the mid wave for now. Maybe a bit early here. Baron not on the Rift. They can't threaten it just yet, so it's going to give LGD a lot of space.
Ooh, I like this from Kanavi. Kanavi taking enemy blue buff, giving his entire team global blues. I think that's not that bad. Again, like you were saying, access to the mid wave first does mean that LGD, they need to just walk through all of this, though, and think about what you're walking into. You're walking into Hui setup, potentially. All of these traps, all of this damage. Now YCX taking a fair bit here on the entrance, getting a bit of a dance now around this. And I want to note, there's a Banshee's Veil, or not a Banshee's, but an Edge of Night here for JackeyLove, a spell shield which will stop any engage or a targeted ultimate coming in from YCX's Nautilus.
You can see it's an effort to just throw so much of this poke over at YCX because they recognize this Nautilus is what's been kicking off so many of these successful fights for LGD, who are now going to look at a reset timer after getting the mid wave up. Looks like both teams will handshake it, see if any pretty big breakpoint items come across or either side. But markedly, we've got JackeyLove himself. This is full build Varus, except those upgraded boots with the I always call it Shirelia's.
Which one?
Shirelia's grudge. The armor pen.
Oh, Sorelda's.
Sorelda's. Yeah,
there we go.
Completed there for JackeyLove.
So he has a lot of armor penetration, also has a lot of ability haste here, and we'll see what they're able to do. But big thing here now is most of the summoner spells for both teams are back up and available. So now we're going to be able to see kind of an all-out team fight. People playing with a little looser, but again, if TES win this game, that'll be the last game of our group stage, and that'll be the last game that'll put TES into the playoffs as the second seed here for Group A underneath anyone's legend.
The LDL title organization, LGD, looking to make waves on a much bigger stage with a bunch of exciting rookies to boot.
YCX?
YCX flashes over the dredge line, but 369 matches it perfectly. Still, though, that support flash for a pretty key one off the Aatrox. But everyone settles back in, and the poke begins to fly back through for Top Esports.
Ooh, there's no whirling death either. They thought they were going to try to find an all-in there. And even if LGD, in the miracle that they're able to win this game off of one team fight, they'd have to do it 3 more times
Chris?
afterwards if they want to be able to win. Chris finds engage on
the
XQW.
They get XQW, goes to the stations, but he's got no one with him. He's going to fall no matter what, even through all of the shielding. Down goes XQW, but it's got to be Shaoye on the backside of the fight. Climbers far too low, and 369 is zoning away the prized AD carry. The pick on XQW this time should be enough to send a staple org of the LPL to the playoffs. There's the route. One more big Q from 369. Give him the
it's
just not enough. It's Shaoye again, but it's just not going to do it. There's everybody else dropped off the map. Shaoye tried all he could to keep LGD in the LPL split, but it's going to come up just short in the nick of time. Nexus turret's next, inhibitor to fall. There's nothing he and LGD can do but watch their split end to the might of top esports.
Can the back be stopped? That's gonna be
There
it.
it is.
LGD are out. Oh, man.
It's a 3-0 for top esports. But outside of game 2, it felt as close as you can get in the series.
Top esports, get it done. There were some question marks thrown their way, especially in game 1, and it got a little bit tricky there in game 3, but I think we got to see a lot of consistent team fighting from them. And welcome, Top Esports. It's a little late, but better late than never. Welcome to the playoffs here in LPL. And we have to unfortunately say goodbye to LGD as they'll be taking their last round around that stage for at least the next couple months.
But what a resilient showing, nonetheless. Outside of game 2, I'm going to keep reiterating it. This series as a whole was much closer than the series score will dictate, and none other than this game 3. What a performance from Shaoye in this one.
Yes.
I mean, it's the classic AD carry adage, Alk. You know, sometimes you can do everything in your power, but your role's just too weak.
Sometimes your mid laner just decides to get engaged upon by 5 members of enemy team. Happens.
3 times in a row.
Yeah. XQW, I think a lot of question marks got to be thrown at his way. Rightful criticism for, unfortunately, just not being able to kind of pull it all together here in this best of 5. I know it is only 3 games, but you take a look back at game 1, that should have been a win for LGD. Look back at this game 3, and I think you can make an argument that this also could have been a win for them. TES, I think, feel kind of leaning a little bit more on that experience. And 369, man, I don't care what all these popular votes at the bottom.
Dude,
this guy, 3 games in a row, has put up, I mean, keeping his team in the game. We think all the way back to that first game, that Jace is the only reason that they kind of got back, barring even a blast cone from Climber.
And this Aatrox is the only reason that Shaoye didn't just delete these last couple of fights. That fight up past the Baron pit, he's the one zoning Shaoye away from his whole team as Climber and YXCX are doing their thing in the back line. And it was the same thing again. Shaoye is so fearless in this game, but the one guy he always had to be worried about was a staple LPL top laner, a veteran of the scene, 369.
Yeah. Good stuff for him, especially for a player who hadn't really found his footing, especially in the AL series. I think him versus Anyone's Legend versus Flandre was kind of eye-opening. It felt like 369 had started to fall off just a little bit. Maybe he's just playing against Flandre and kind of the plays that they were able to do. Couldn't really connect it, but here I think this is a really good pick-me-up for a TES team that we're looking to at least go far, and who knows, maybe with the changes in their roster from last year that they'll be able to kind of push a little bit further than they did. Although, hey man, making all the internationals in a year, making top 8, pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, the sentiment coming out of this is it was far from easy. It didn't look as clean as top esports would want to, but they're in. And while they're not going to get the nice double elimination to play through, and, well, we'll see with the draw show that I guess we're actually going to get to do at the end of this night, how rough the road is going to be. But they're in. That's the prevailing thought after the series closes out.
Exactly. For everybody at home, if you're wondering, oh, I can turn off the stream, you could if you really wanted to. I can't stop you. But we will have the draw show for the playoffs directly after this. So we're going to be waiting to see what player the game is. We're going to take a short break for ourselves once that comes up. But then we're going to have the draw to see who is in for playoffs. And honestly, if you didn't check the schedule, honestly, it is really rough. We're going to be taking a break after today. We'll come back on the 22nd, and then we're playing 2 best-of-5s every day for 3 days straight. From the 22nd through the 24th, we're having 2 best-of-5s back-to-back every single day, which is going to be a really big monumental task, especially for all of the volunteers here on the program.
Yeah, pray for us here. We thought sleep schedules were bad then. They're about to get worse, but it's because the LPL matchups are getting tantalizing. We're going to look at these endgame stats here, and, you know, I know JackeyLove ends with 50K. It's not hard to get high damage numbers when you're playing a poke champion into a decent front line. It's Shaoye here that really shined. And look at that gold graph. I mean, if you didn't watch the game and I only showed you that gold graph, you should know it was a banger.
Yeah, exactly. Got to be thinking about MVPs, man. I know we saw that Creme was getting a lot of love from popular vote. I don't know how you're feeling. I know I've kind of tainted your mind with all the 369 love, but how are you feeling?
I feel like Crisp is a sneaky... No, he got caught way too much in the mid-game. I think it's a tough spot. A lot of early... You know, there was a lot of good early power from Kanavi. I think this Nidalee was getting a ton of work done in the early game, but like most Nidalees can find, you can falter in the team fighting.
Okay, that was not his fault. His support literally ran it down for like a 3-minute span and made the game tough. So
and then JackeyLove, if you're looking at the stats here, I mean, he tops the damage charts. He ends with a pretty awesome stat line as well. They didn't give a JackeyLove MVP in the series yet. If you want to play towards the fans, that's always a safe vote in the LPL.
Please. He didn't do much. They got 2v2 killed. They had jungle assistance. Just give it to Kanavi,
I talk,
or give it over to 369.
Yeah, the more I talk, I feel like it's a 369 angle.
They're probably not going to give it to 369 because, like, he's playing Aatrox, and there wasn't, like a bin Aatrox moment where he, like, just completely tears apart a team fight. But, like, you got to, I think, holistically with how he played throughout the season, without how, or the split, sorry, the series, and then you just think of, like, all of the games he's played in general. I think that this is a really strong showing from him, especially on a couple of champions that we know him for, especially the Gnar and the Aatrox.
Without a doubt. And
I need to kidnap my
fights
cat.
that
Continue.
The fights, okay, the fights that matter most. It was 369, the 369's Aatrox that was doing the work here. Unfortunately, this highlight package is marred by what's really going to hurt LGD when they look to go back at the tape, especially in games 1 and 3. There's no sugarcoating it. They really shot themselves in the foot in a couple of these big fights.
I think it's so exciting for LGD. I know that mistakes tend to kind of harbor a lot of negative feelings, and you can obviously get down and really hard on yourself for what you've done in the past, but I think about the first 15 minutes of this game, of Game 1. I think of some of the exciting prospects that we've had here for LGD, and a fight like this, Shaoye and YCX, both of them together, I think can show a lot more in a split 2 where you're playing against teams that are more alongside your caliber. And I mean, you got more exciting teams to play against as well. Like, yes, you're an expected underdog going against TES, and the scoreline won't show it, but there are a lot of close games here, and that just means that split 2 against teams you're closer in, we're going to get banger series between those guys. Imagine like a RNG versus LGD, and that series might actually mean something, and that hasn't occurred in like a couple of years now.
Or like a LGD Thunder Talk series, right? Let's see like the two real fun young rosters.
Yeah, well now that they're first seed, depending on how far they end, they'll actually be in the group 1 for the season.
True.
So they'll be playing against other top dogs, and maybe that'll test whether or not Thunder Talk are the real deal.
Well, Kanavi is the real deal in the MVP conversation. He goes back-to-back, 2 of his 3 MVPs of the split, coming in this 3-0 series for Top Esports. I can respect it. Stat line looks great, and he was really commanding the early game here to make sure that Top Esports didn't fall too far behind when LGD started really roaring.
30% of his team's damage as well as in Italy. Pretty impressive, especially for what was a pretty strong early game now. Aside from that, that's kind of the series over. I don't know if I feel like we should be taking a break after this one. We're going to send it to a quick break, everybody, and when we're back, we're going to have the draw show for playoffs. So please stay tuned